And did you have anything more to add towards life development?
I mean, beyond hockey, I think all that we can do, as we get older and we turn ourselves into more, more productive members of society than say we were when we were playing pro hockey. I think the biggest thing for me is being able to look back without any, say, negativity towards it, and actually really being able to truly learn and improve my life and how I behave and my personality, looking at being able to improve those things, I think is the biggest gift the game of hockey's given me outside of, 20 years of the best time ever. Being able to self-reflect on a lot of things, and those are skills I learned playing hockey. Am I being honest with myself? Was that my best effort? Those sorts of things, I can now apply those to my life every single day, where I don't know if everyone that didn't play pro hockey or play junior hockey or collegiate hockey or any high level sport for that matter, I don't think those are skills that are easily picked up without dealing with a ton of adversity throughout your youth career and your young career. So for me, that's the biggest one. Is I've done a lot of, it's called self reflection on how, opportunities might have passed me by. And well, now that I'm an adult, a little bit more mature, I see opportunities come up, and I think to myself, well, young me would have missed this or screwed this up, not this one. And I'm not going to do that this time. I've already made that mistake. I don't need to do it again. I can approach it with a different mindset, right? So those are for me, those are huge parts of my hockey career that I still carry with me.
Yep. And just going into like a little bit of what you're talking about is how we've all made mistakes in our lives, and um, we tend to try to make our best effort to make the right ones and do our best. But um, no, I think it's important to mention to these parents, especially the ones that work. And this isn't just locally here in Victoria. I've seen this many other places, even Russia, watching their young kids on the ice and stuff, and in China and Sweden, all these different places. But how you get those parent fans behind the glass that are like staring at their kid and trying to get their attention. Sometimes
Giving them baseball signals.
it's just waving to them sometimes, but just leave them alone a little bit, right? And obviously you want to encourage them, but I think when someone's not paying attention, they want to be the one to kind of make sure their kids do it, when probably up to the coaches, and just other things. But including, what I'm trying to say is, through the struggles of life and these skills, but onto the ice, is when parents see like their kid doing a drill wrong, or a coach running a drill that is just not going very well and not suiting at all. But to me, that is growth, because everyone can feel how crazy it is, and how, the gong show of it, and can see that. But what everyone thinks right to it is like, oh no, they got to switch this right. This is terrible. It's a waste of time. It's actually not wasting time at all. It's a big learning moment, especially when everyone probably feels out of place and potentially unorganized. So it's how what leader and or leaders can come together and problem solve, I guess you would say, to whether you put that drill back together of how it can be done better, you correct the players, slow it down, or the big one on skill development is, especially at the beginning, when you're learning a new skill or a new game situation that you've never done before, you're not going to do it anywhere close to perfectly. You're going to probably screw it up. It's just a matter of the reps that you're talking about, those many reps, through the practices and stuff and doing it. So I think that's what everyone, including parents and coaches, need to really realize, is when things go sideways, it's actually a big learning moment.
Yeah, 100%. And even just with my team practices, if I draw up a drill and it's not going great for the first 5, 6 reps, I just wait. I just wait. And then once the kids, maybe the kids screwed up on their first rep, Well, in 3 or 4 more turns, they're going to be at their second rep.
Yeah.
And then let's see if they've improved. Let's see if they've figured anything out, if they learned anything. Okay, well, I just did that. I skated that route incorrectly, and I was rewarded with a terrible pass that I had to look back for. Okay, well, what can I do differently next time? Can I get in a better position? Can I make myself more available? And that's when, as a coach, I start to see, okay, well, this player gets it. This player is actively learning. Okay. Now, my next thought is, who's watching him? You've always got kids who are sitting at the boards, flipping pucks to the glass, toe dragging in line, shooting pucks at the other end, empty net, stuff like that. And the second wave, let's call those kids that figure it out really fast. Call them your first level of player. And then your second level of player sees the first level of player doing it right. They're like, oh, that's how you do it. Okay, perfect. Take a note, figured it out. I learned something. And then those players, we'll call them our bubble players. They're the ones, in my experience, that are less engaged in being a student of the game. They're there, hockey's fun, mom and dad are clapping in the stands, and there to be with my friends, there to get some exercise. But once practice is over, I don't think about hockey till next practice. Where the kids that are, let's call them our first level, they're thinking about that play the whole ride home. Right? They go home and they turn on the Canucks game and they watch other players at the National League level do the same thing. They're like, oh, okay, well, he did it even better than I did. Now I'm going to try that again next practice. So for me, I'm not going to blow a drill dead because I don't like what I see. I don't like the optics of how it looks in the rink. Sometimes those are the best drills, the ones that look horrendous at the start. But then you get enough kids who figure it out, and then it turns into a drill. But not because I blew it dead and yelled at them or brought them back to the board and drew it up again the exact same way. No, you let them figure it out. And you let your leaders lead, right? And you let the players that truly want to get better, you let them figure it out on their own because they will. And I'm not saying I'm going to let the drill run terribly for 15 minutes.
Right.
But too often I'm walking in and out of rinks and you see a coach let a drill get 2 reps in and they blow it dead and bring everyone back in. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe the 2 kids that are at the front of the line weren't paying attention to the board. Right? Maybe the 3rd and 4th kid knew exactly what to do. There's so much of that. You got to let them figure things out, and you got to let them, I don't want to say run wild, but you kind of got to let them go through it a few times. And if you don't see any improvement after everyone's been through it 3 or 4 times, then bring it in, demonstrate it, right? Use it as a teachable moment. But more often than not, the top end kids understand it. More often than not, they'll do it right. And it's up to the rest of the team to be paying attention, in my opinion, to learn from their teammates, to learn from, coaches come around and talk to you in line. If they just say, oh, just get lower. And if you don't understand what get lower means, ask coach, what do you mean by get lower? Where do you want me to get lower? Or if you don't understand about being available, coach, what does that mean? Well, let's say right now you got your stick up in the middle, like right at your waist, and you're calling for a pass. Are you available for a puck? No. And they're like, oh, they start to see that, oh, that makes sense. I'm not actually, just because I have no one around me, doesn't mean I'm open, right? There's so often you see that they're screaming for pucks because they're standing on the opposite side of the rink for the play. Well, yeah, you're uncovered, but are you open? Are you an option? No, not really. So for those kids that are, let's call them a little bit ahead of the game for their age, those are the things they understand. And if you can put them into positions in your drills or throughout your whole practice where they can figure those things out on their own without you having to tell them, I think that's way more important than you drawing up a drill to look perfect for mom and dad in the stands to feel good about their hockey experience. Because it's not about mom and dad. It's about the kid on the ice. And if he can figure something out without me telling him to do it, he will never forget that, right? It will just become a part of his game.
Yeah.
But if I just tell him to do this route this way and don't tell him why, or he doesn't care why, well, then you're going to be beating a dead horse next practice because they did it wrong again.
as we all would say as we come up in our journey, I heard myself and lots of other players say is we feel robotic. We
Yeah.
just do robotic things of what we are told to do only, and there's no creativity. As we found when we were playing to go up, is the game is fun when you're doing creative things and fun things. Of course, there is a structure to it and some things shouldn't do in high risk things, but when you're doing robotic things, the game becomes really boring. It's pretty hard to.
Yeah. And I mean, and you see it now with all the training aids that have been the craze for called the last 5 years or so. Man, there's some kids out there with insane amounts of talent that I've never even dreamed of having. But all they do is stick handle through inanimate objects. The second you throw a decision their way, they crumble.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that's a big hole in everyone's development programs is there's a lot of static defense. There's a lot of static things that you're competing against when that's never the case in the game. So why wouldn't we be working on things where there's a little bit of defensive pressure, right? For the young grassroots kids, it's great. Yes, learn your dexterity, move through the dangle bars, work on your toe drags, work on feeling the puck, using the whole range of your stick. All those things are great. But when you see it at the, U18, U15 level, these kids are still doing all these drills with their heads down, going through a pattern. I don't think that's creating a better hockey player. It's just, like you said, it's creating a robot. If all we do at development ice is toe drag or whatever the move is, a defender comes to you in a game, you're gonna resort right to your only move that you know. Right? You know exactly the kind of players that I'm talking about growing up. No matter what happened, it was cut to the middle, see if I can make a move. Cut to the middle, make a move. Whereas if you practice and you develop against active defense, well, and maybe after the third failed toe drag, you might try something new. You might go for a new tactic. And I think that's something that's lacking in a lot of, especially youth development ice is, Instagram and TikTok made all of these, let's call them the training aids, made them look so crucial to being the next Connor McDavid, right? That was how everyone thought for a while, or that's the only way you get better. Well, okay, Connor McDavid probably goes through the Power Edge Pro gear once a week, just to sharpen his stick skill. I would imagine a guy like that is doing way more than just Power Edge Pro. I'm imagining he's going to be going up against another, the guys at those bioskill camps. I would imagine he's got 3 or 4 of those guys that they skate together every day, and they pick 1 or 2 things that they're going to work on for the entire hour. And they're just going to rep after rep after rep after rep of reading and reacting. I think that's something that I personally try and implement a lot more into my development ice. I see that you do it too. I think that's why we get along and why we can, kind of run ice together without a whole lot of discussion, because both of us are, for the most part, on the same page of what we think is beneficial. Like, I love it at the end of your practices, you just chuck all the gear out. You say, here, go nuts, work on all your skills, but you only make them do it for 5-7 minutes. Whereas other ice times, they do that for the whole 50, 60 minutes. Right? And the first 50 minutes of our skate, we were actually working on things. This is why we're doing it. You're going to find yourself in this situation 100 times a game. Get good at this. This is way more important than your toe drag and blue line.
Yeah.